Part 42. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 411. Xiaoshui, if you really like Jolie, don't just talk, ask for your mobile phone number, ask for your QQ number, and take the initiative to contact you. It's impossible to wait for other girls to take the initiative to chase you, right? Su Ji also laughed and joked, brother Yuan is right, love can't wait. When you meet a girl you like, you must take the initiative. Look, brother Yuan is so good, and he is not the one who takes the initiative to pursue her. Sister-in-law. Li Yuan smiled, Su Ji was right, it was indeed like this. In this era, girls are still relatively reserved, especially super beautiful girls. They never lack all kinds of high-quality suitors, even more so. Like Zhong Tingyu and Xia's Haijin, if he didn't take the initiative to attack, it would be impossible for them to take the initiative to pursue him, and they would have to miss it. I don't know Jolie very well, and it's the first time I've met her today. However, just looking at her appearance and figure, she's pretty good. She's only a freshman now, and there are relatively few competitors. If you're really interested, start as soon as possible. In addition, you need to understand her interests and hobbies, cater to her interests, do more homework, and be targeted when chatting online. Don't leave anything behind. What are you eating? What are you doing? Have you slept? Such nutritious words. As for the way of chatting, you can find templates from the internet. The kind of templates that are humorous and can arouse girls' emotions. Ahem, it can also be said to be routines. Of course, this also varies from person to person. The most important thing 1 point, if a girl doesn't give you any positive feedback, then quit immediately and find another one, and don't be a licker. Listening to Li Yuan imparting love experience, Su Ji couldn't help but listen. Xiaoshui, hurry up and take notes. These are brother Yuan's love experiences. If you learn them, you might be able to date more girlfriends like brother Yuan. Su Ji chuckled, patted Wang Shui on the shoulder, gave Li Yuan a thumbs up, and praised. As expected of brother Yuan, this love experience speaks volumes. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, ahem, I'm just the king of strong words. As for the specifics, you have to practice the truth. Chase more different girls and talk to more girlfriends. You will understand. Listening to Li Yuan's answer, Su Ji glanced at Li Yuan suspiciously and said doubtfully, brother Yuan, why do I feel that you are a scumbag in literature? Shouldn't we be taught that we will be together for the rest of our lives? If we love someone, we must stay true to it, from school uniforms to wedding dresses, and grow old together. Ahem, Daji, what, actually, if you have many girlfriends, you will be quite happy. Li Yuan replied without blushing, then looked at Wang Shui and pushed him, Xiaoshui, stop talking nonsense to us, hurry up and take action. Don't miss this opportunity. It will never come back. After listening to Li Yuan and Su Ji's suggestions, Wang Shui made up his mind and was about to ask Jolie for his QQ number when he saw Bai Wuxi walking over pretty and staring at Li Yuan, as if he was hesitant to speak. Li Yuan smiled and said, Xiao Bai, what's wrong with you? Bai Wuxi glanced at Wang Shui and Su Ji, 2 high school classmates, and said softly, brother, I have something to tell you. Hey, sister-in-law, you guys talk first. Wang Shui and Su Ji understood instantly and found an excuse to leave. After he and Bai Wuxi were alone, Li Yuan asked doubtfully, Xiao Bai, what's the matter? You can talk about it now. Bai Wuxi bit her lip, her heart was in her throat, she was very uneasy, afraid of making Li Yuan angry. At the end of the day, he flinched again and spoke hesitantly. Brother, I don't know whether I should say it or not. I'm afraid you'll be angry. Li Yuan touched Bai Wuxi's head speechlessly, just tell me what our relationship is. Besides, I don't like to be angry that much. Then what I said, Bai Wuxi stared at Li Yuan with blushing cheeks. Li Yuan nodded, yes. Bai Wuxi mustered up the courage to speak out, brother, today is my birthday. Can you sing a song to me alone? Li Yuan was stunned, that's it? Yes, Bai Wuxi stared at Li Yuan expectantly with her big, bright eyes, waiting for his answer. Li Yuan laughed dumbly, Xiao Bai, you look so solemn, why did I think you were singing a song? It's too simple. Bai Wuxi explained a little embarrassedly, well, I didn't sing casually. Aren't you singing casually? Li Yuan was slightly startled, do you still want to order some songs? Bai Wuxi rolled her eyes at Li Yuan and snorted, it's not a song request. I want you to sing a new song just for me. Li Yuan suddenly realized that he was waiting here. He did remember coming across a pretty good song, but he hadn't practiced it in private yet. If it was sung a cappella, it wouldn't sound that good. Ahem, Xiao Bai, I've been busy recently and lacked inspiration. I haven't written any new songs. Listening to Li Yuan's answer, Bai Wuxi let out a slight sigh of disappointment. She could also understand this situation. It was not easy to create a good song. Bai Wuxi's disappointed expression disappeared in an instant, and he quickly hugged Li Yuan's arm and smiled sweetly. He, brother, it's okay. You can sing it to me again when you feel inspired. Li Yuan hugged Bai Wuxi's waist. His senses were very keen and he noticed Bai Wuxi's disappointed expression that just passed away. He could also understand Bai Wuxi's mood. I sang for Zhong Tingyu and Zhang Ziyu respectively at Jie Chu's concert and the Jieda campus welcome party. But on her birthday, not a single song was sung. Li Yuan's mind was running wildly, and some songs he had heard and sung in his previous life came to mind one after another. Soon, a song was fixed in my mind. Li Yuan had an idea and stared at Bai Wuxi seriously, Xiao Bai, do you really want to hear it? When Bai Wuxi saw Li Yuan's serious inquiry, her heart was pounding and her eyes were a little dodgy. She didn't know what Li Yuan meant by this question. After hesitating for a while, he nodded firmly. Brother, I want to hear it. Li Yuan smiled and said, you can listen if you want. You have to agree to my request, okay? A request, Bai Wuxi was a little confused. Although he was confused, he still nodded in agreement in order to listen to the song Li Yuan wrote for him. Brother, I promise. Li Yuan smiled mischievously, what's your request without even asking? Bai Wuxi replied shyly, as long as you like it, brother, I will do anything you ask me to do. Seeing Bai Wuxi agree, Li Yuan felt relieved, and the bold idea in his mind became clearer and clearer. To take care of Bai Wuxi, all it takes is Zhong Tingyu. Li Yuan smiled and said, okay, you sing the song first, and I'll brew it in my mind. Bai Wuxi happily replied, okay, brother. Tonight's bonfire reception and open-air bar are still going on. More than a dozen freshmen, most of whom are participating in a college classmate's birthday party for the first time, are completely immersed in this cheerful atmosphere and enjoying this special event with all their heart. The fun of a birthday party, everyone showing off their singing voices in the open-air bar. Time passed quickly in the cheerful atmosphere. Li Yuan himself blended into this special atmosphere, constantly making excuses to drink with Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu. The two girls had never drank much, and they started to get drunk after just a few drinks. Although this specially prepared wine tastes very good and the alcohol content is not particularly high, for girls who have never drank it, it still has a strong stamina. Zhong Tingyu sat next to Li Yuan, with the smell of alcohol coming from the corner of her mouth, and her face was as red as a ripe apple. Humph, senior, if I keep drinking, I'm going to get drunk. Where's the cake you prepared for Way 11? I'm still waiting to eat the birthday cake. Beside him, Bai Wuxi also stared at Li Yuan with blurred eyes, full of tenderness, waiting for his answer. Birthday parties, birthday cakes and longevity noodles are essential parts. Li Yuan looked at his two girlfriends who were already a little drunk, and then looked at his watch. It was already past 11:10 p.m., and it was almost time. He waved to the beautiful host serving in the distance. As a professional host, she was always waiting at her side, paying attention to Li Yuan's various needs. When she saw Li Yuan waving, she immediately walked over quickly and respectfully. Ask. Mr. Li, did you call me? Li Yuan nodded and explained the situation. It's almost time. Wait until 11:30 in the evening for the last step. Also, have you brought what I want? Mr. Li, don't worry, everything is ready. Well, go get ready. After the beautiful host left, Li Yuan held Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu with his hands, one on the left and the other on the right, and said with a smile. Wait a little longer, and we will proceed to the last step. After saying that, he looked at Bai Wuxi and smiled. Xiao Bai, I already have a clue about this song I wrote specifically for you, so I will sing it to you now. However, I was a bit drunk today. Don't mind if I don't sing well. I wasn't very well prepared. Some of the lyrics haven't been polished yet. The songs that were sung for Zhang Ziyu and Zhong Tingyu were all prepared in advance and sung while they were awake. Tonight, in order to have a few more drinks with his two girlfriends, Zhong Tingyu and Bai Wuxi, he himself drank a lot. As the protagonist, other classmates, such as Suji, Wang Shui, Ding Shanshan, Wang Yuchen, and others, also came to clink glasses and drink with him. Bai Wuxi originally gave up her expectations tonight. Unexpectedly, at this time, hope suddenly came again. The drunken head suddenly became energetic, and the drunkenness disappeared completely. His big blurred eyes blinked and stared at Li Yuan, holding Li Yuan's arm coquettishly. Brother, I want to hear it now. Li Yuan smiled slightly. Hey, just wait. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 412. After saying that, he stood up, walked to the beautiful host, and took a guitar from her. During this period, in addition to drinking with Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu, he was also waiting for the hotel to send a guitar. Li Yuan held the guitar, waiting for Suji and Wang Yuchen to finish singing a love song affectionately, and came to the stage alone. Seeing Li Yuan on the stage, the other people in the audience stopped their actions instantly, stared at Li Yuan with fiery eyes, and whispered. Wow, Li Yuan came on the stage with a guitar. Does that mean he will sing for us tonight? That's for sure. We must be fair. Wuxi has come out, and today is Wuxi's birthday. As a boyfriend, Li Yuan must sing a song no matter what. Hee, I don't know which song Li Yuan will sing. I am his loyal fan. Let me count the songs that Li Yuan wrote for several girlfriends on different occasions. Nanshan Nan, Confession Balloon, Su Yan, Just Met You, Anhe Bridge, Just Once, Tisk Tisk. I didn't know until I counted them, and I was shocked. He is indeed my idol. It has only been a short time since the start of school, but he has already written so many good songs. I like to listen to Confession Balloon, which is quite appropriate in this occasion. No, it is also a bit inappropriate. Amid the discussion of several girls in the audience, Li Yuan plucked the strings, tested the tone, and smiled. Tonight, thank you all for coming to Xiaobai's birthday party. I want to ask, did everyone have a good time eating and playing? Oh! Happy. Wang Shui blew a loud whistle and cheered loudly. Su Ji also cheered loudly. Brother Yuan, we are very happy and are waiting for you. Come on, sing a song and we will be even happier. Girls, am I right? Yes. Come on, sing. Ding Shanshan, Wang Lisha, Zhou and other girls also cheered enthusiastically. Almost all of them were holding their mobile phones and digital cameras, facing Li Yuan, ready to record the whole scene. In fact, In addition to them, the hotel's dedicated photographer has already recorded everything with a high-definition professional camera, just like shooting a wedding ceremony. Bai Wuxi stood at the front, waiting eagerly for the song that Li Yuan wrote specifically for her. Li Yuan moistened his throat when he saw his classmates were so enthusiastic. This song is written today for Xiao Bai. I hope that you will always be with me for the rest of my life. This song The Rest of My Life is dedicated to everyone. I hope you will like it. Li Yuan played the guitar and spoke slowly. Looking for the sun in a windless place, and being the warm sun in your cold place. You are always too naive in the midst of the chaos. For the rest of my life, I only want you. For the rest of my life, the wind and snow are you, the plainness is you, and the poverty is also you. I want to take you to see the clear sky, and want to tell you loudly that I am fascinated by you. You are the gentleness in my heart, and you are also the one in my eyes. Listening to this song The Rest of My Life, the audience was boiling instantly, and almost everyone was clapping non-stop. This song has a very good rhythm and simple content. From beginning to end, every sentence is very nice. Wow, hold me up quickly, I feel like I am in love. Li Yuan is really a musical talent. He sang The Rest of My Life so well. How did he do it? Is this the love between brother Yuan and classmate Xiao Bai? The love is so deep, and this song is so beautiful that I cried when I heard it. Shinshin, to be honest, I used to dislike Li Yuan. Although he is very talented, he is just a scumbag who has multiple girlfriends. But after listening to the song he sang, I suddenly understood the choices of Wei 11 and Ting Yu. Which girl would not be confused by such a Li Yuan? Yeah, you are so right. If Li Yuan pursues me like this, I can't resist it. I think there are not many girls in the world who can resist it. Look at Wei 11, she is so moved that she has already cried. For the rest of my life, the wind and snow are you, the plainness is you, and the poverty is also you. This kind of lyrics is really touching. Li Yuan's talent is simply unimaginable. Listening to Li Yuan still singing passionately on the stage, Bai Wuxi stared at Li Yuan tightly and had already burst into tears. The man on the stage, who had given her everything and whose eyes and the world were filled with her, was lost by herself. She looked at Li Yuan's eyes, and vaguely saw Li Yuan's eyes, which were also shining with crystal light. In her mind, she couldn't help but think of the story that Li Yuan told her. In that story, Li Yuan pursued her for 7 years, gave her everything, and spent the best 7 years of his youth in his life. But she abandoned him. Bai Wuxi murmured with tears in her eyes, "Brother, I will stay by your side forever in this life, no matter what happens, no matter how others see me, no matter whether my parents object. For the rest of my life, I only want you." Zhong Tingyu in the back row listened to Li Yuan singing For the Rest of My Life affectionately, and her heart was also complicated. In her mind, she also remembered the scene when Li Yuan sang for her at the concert. "Senior, what kind of person are you? You are so fickle, but why do you act so infatuated? Is the story you told really true? I don't understand it now." Zhong Tingyu's eyes were blurred, and she drank all the wine in the glass. It seemed that only in this way could she numb her nerves. Li Yuan walked off the stage amidst the warm applause of the audience, and then waved to the beautiful host, signaling to start the last session. After a while, the lighting atmosphere of the entire scene suddenly began to change, and the music played by the band also began to soothe. Until, all the lights suddenly went out, and the scene fell into complete darkness. Hey, the lights and music suddenly went out. Wang Shui was chatting happily with Zhou Lei, who was about to go to the QQ account. When he saw the lights suddenly go out, he asked with some confusion. Zhou Lei smiled slightly, glanced at Wang Shui, and stood up calmly. It should be a birthday cake. She has attended several similar birthday parties and knows the process. As soon as he finished speaking, a small cart decorated with various lights suddenly broke into everyone's sight, accompanied by the song Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. As the hotel band and Li Yuan started clapping and humming the birthday song, other students immediately reacted and sang the birthday song along. Li Yuan came to Bai Wuxi, looked at her still moved face full of tears, gently wiped her face with his hand, took her hand, walked to the birthday cake, smiled and said, "Wuxi, happy birthday, blow out the candles and make a wish." Bai Wuxi was led by Li Yuan to the birthday cake cart. Looking at the three-layered exquisite cake, she turned her head, looked deeply at Li Yuan, stood up on her tiptoes, hugged Li Yuan's neck, and kissed him. After a long time, Bai Wuxi panted and let go of Li Yuan. She clenched her hands shyly and blew out the candles. Then, she clenched her hands, closed her eyes, and made a birthday wish. As everyone sang the birthday song together, Bai Wuxi said happily, "Brother, okay, let's eat cake." When I finished eating the birthday cake, it was already past 12 o'clock in the morning. Li Yuan quietly pulled Su Ji aside and said with a smile, "Daji, you must seize the opportunity tonight, the hotel room has been reserved for you." Su Ji only focused on persuading Wang Yuchen to drink tonight. He didn't drink much himself, and the boys drank more. After hearing Li Yuan's words, he immediately made an okay gesture quietly. "Don't worry, brother Yuan. If you can't win tonight, I will be a bachelor for the rest of my life." Li Yuan laughed and joked, "Haha, don't put up flags randomly. Go quickly and seize the opportunity, young man." Li Yuan sincerely hopes that this good friend of his will not make the same mistakes as his previous life and end in tragedy. Every man, in his youth, will probably have an affectionate experience, and then be severely hurt, and never believe in love again. After Su Ji left, Li Yuan called the beautiful host and brought over a handful of room cards. At tonight's birthday party, every girl who came was drunk. They couldn't go back to the school dormitory even if they wanted to, so they had to stay in a hotel. Li Yuan gave the room card to each girl in turn, so that two people can share a room to ensure safety. Li Yuan called Wang Shui over and reminded him with a wink. "Xiao Shui, you don't have much to drink. You need to send every girl to the room safely." Wang Shui immediately understood what Li Yuan meant. "Don't worry, brother Yuan, leave it all to me." Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu, who were already drunk, and patted Wang Shui on the shoulder. "Then I'll leave first, and I'll leave this to you." Wang Shui looked at the backs of Li Yuan hugging Zhong Tingyu and Bai Wuxi, and gave an envious thumbs up. "Brother Yuan, you are truly a winner in life." In the hotel car, Li Yuan had his arms around Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu. Both of them had drunk a lot of wine tonight. They were so drunk that they couldn't speak clearly. When a person is drunk, he may still be conscious at first, but in just a few minutes, he may completely lose consciousness and forget everything that happened. This is commonly known as fragmentation. Bai Wuxi lay in Li Yuan's arms and asked confusedly, "Brother, aren't we staying in a hotel? Where are we going?" Bai Wuxi's condition is obviously better than Zhong Tingyu's. This is why Zhong Tingyu drinks a lot of wine alone. She is looking for drunkenness. Li Yuan's heart was pounding, and he pretended to be calm and said, "Let's go home." "Go home," Bai Wuxi murmured, then looked at Zhong Tingyu on the other side and asked again with some confusion in his mind. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 413. Tingyu, are you coming with us? At this time, Zhong Tingyu also asked in a daze, "Senior, where are we going?" Li Yuan's heart was already in his throat, but he still pretended to answer calmly. "Just follow him calmly, we will be there in a while." "Oh, Zhong Tingyu said oh lightly, and fell asleep again with Li Yuan on his side. Soon, the hotel car arrived at the Xingawan community. Bai Wuxi hugged Li Yuan's arm, looked at the Western-style villa in front of him, and looked at Li Yuan with all his strength, trying to resist the urge to fall asleep. "Brother, where is this?" Li Yuan supported his two girlfriends on the left and right, and smiled, "This is our new home." Chapter 240 Bai Wuxi's Compromise, Experience Double Happiness. Splendid Star Resort Hotel. After watching Li Yuan take Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu away directly, Su Ji sighed with envy, and came to Wang Yuchen, who was singing excitedly. Because it was past midnight, there were only a few girls who liked to sing, such as Wang Yuchen, Zhou, Wang Lisha, etc. The feeling of singing in an open-air bar tonight was much better than in a KTV or bar, with fine wine, food, flowers, and various audio and music equipment. After quietly waiting for Wang Yuchen to finish singing a song drunkenly, Su Ji quietly came to Wang Yuchen and hugged her from behind. Su Ji smiled and asked, "Yuchen, it's already past midnight, do you want to continue singing for a while?" Wang Yuchen glanced at Su Ji, her consciousness was a little fuzzy, and she spoke drunkenly, with a tone of anger. "Humph, Su Ji, are you trying to control me?" Su Ji waved his hands quickly, No, I'm not controlling you, I just saw that you've drunk too much, and I want you to go back and rest early." Wang Yuchen glared at Li Yuan and snorted, "Humph, I don't want you to control me, I'm not drunk, I still want to continue singing and have fun. If you're sleepy, go back by yourself, I have my own room. It's my song, I won't talk to you anymore." As he said that, he took the microphone and continued to hum, looking very interested. Su Ji was a little worried about Wang Yuchen's health, but seeing her like this, he thought to himself that if things continued to develop, the boasts he made today would definitely not come true. At this time, Wang Shui also came over, patted Su Ji on the shoulder, and smiled mischievously. "Daji, are you okay? Are you embarrassed in front of classmate Yuchen again? Tonight, are you okay?" Su Ji was provoked by his good buddy, and immediately denied it and pretended to be calm. He, just rest assured, I guarantee to win tonight." "Okay, I'll wait for your good news tomorrow," Wang Shui smiled, he didn't doubt it. Wang Yuchen and Su Ji have known each other for a long time, and recently he spent so much money to buy her various gifts. Wang Yuchen drank a lot of wine today. With such a good time, if Su Ji still can't win, he really doubts whether Su Ji has a problem with his body. Zhou and the other girls can really sing. "I'm so sleepy, but I have to stay here with them. Brother Yuan is still lucky. He took his two girlfriends away together." After Wang Shui complained, he looked around and joked in a low voice, "Daji, guess, will Brother Yuan want that tonight?" Su Ji was slightly startled, "Which one are you talking about? We are brothers, and you are still pretending?" "Of course it's that one." Wang Shui looked at Su Ji with contempt. Su Ji met Wang Shui's contemptuous eyes, and a flash of inspiration flashed in his mind, and he guessed what he was talking about. He shuddered suddenly and felt a little incredible. If Li Yuan really wanted to do that, would Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu, these two super beauties, agree? No matter how he thought about it, he felt it was impossible. Especially Bai Wuxi, in his impression, was a very principled and proud girl. Now that she could accept that Li Yuan had other girlfriends, it was beyond his imagination. It was impossible for her to agree to that kind of thing. This was simply going to shatter his three views. Su Ji took a glass of wine from the side and gestured, "Ahem, Xiao Shui, waiting is boring, should we continue to drink?" Wang Shui shook his head with a strange look on his face, "Daji, if we two brothers drink too much, your happy life at night will be gone. For the first time, it's better to keep a sober memory, don't miss it in a muddle. I heard that if you get drunk, you won't be able to do that." Listening to Wang Shui's fierce words, Su Ji blushed and stopped insisting. He looked at Wang Yuchen, who was still singing loudly, and felt a little entangled in his heart. His girlfriend can drink much better than other girls, and she can endure it. After thinking for a while, he finally decided to learn from Li Yuan and seize this opportunity tonight. He came to Wang Yuchen with a glass of wine and said gently, "Yuchen, you must be tired of singing, drink some wine to moisten your throat." Wang Yuchen's voice was indeed a little smoky when she sang. She was a little drunk, and she didn't care what kind of wine Su Ji handed over, and drank it directly. Then, she shook her body and looked at Su Ji in a daze. "Su Ji, do you want to sing with me?" Su Ji had already made up his mind at this time, so he naturally would not refuse, and nodded readily, "Okay." Just like that. Su Ji also joined the crazy team at night again. At the same time, he always looked for the right opportunity and found various excuses to clink glasses with Wang Yuchen. Soon, Wang Yuchen became even more drunk. He could hardly open his eyes, could not speak clearly, and his body was shaky and ready to collapse at any time. Su Ji felt happy and knew that the time had come. He quickly supported Wang Yuchen and returned to the hotel room. Looking at Wang Yuchen, who was lying on the bed with only vague consciousness, Su Ji thought to himself, "Yuchen, we have known each other for more than 3 years and have been in a relationship for more than half a year. I am sincere to you. For you, I would not hesitate to sell the stocks in my hands without Brother Yuan's consent. I have spent tens of thousands for you. But why have you always been aloof from me? If Brother Yuan and Xiao's Huai hadn't reminded me, I might have continued like this." As Su Ji spoke, his eyes gradually became firmer. "Yuchen, just like Brother Yuan said, I don't want to continue this unclear relationship anymore. Our relationship has come to a standstill. After tonight, if you blame me, I will always love you." After saying this, Su Ji leaned down directly. On the other side, in Xingawan community, in front of villa number 16. Bai Wuxi looked stunned when she heard Li Yuan's answer. She suppressed her drunkenness and carefully looked at the single-family villa in front of her. If you say. If the 4-bedroom house in Jade Mansion had satisfied all her fantasies about life in a big city, the 3-story villa in front of her was completely beyond her imagination. This is a magical city, an international metropolis, and the place with the highest housing prices in the country. Just like the Jade Mansion community where she lives now, the house price has risen to 10,000 to 20,000 square meters. The villa in front of us is located on the bank of the Huangpu River, adjacent to the city center. It has a better location, but the price will definitely be more expensive, at least tens of millions. So, Li Yuan, where did he get that much money? When did he buy this villa? Bai Wuxi suddenly had many doubts in his heart. Zhong Tingyu leaned on Li Yuan and looked at the villa. She was conscious for a moment and asked intermittently, "Senior, why are you here?" Li Yuan hugged Zhong Tingyu's slim waist and pretended to be drunk to explain. "Well, this is close to the hotel. I drank too much at night, so I stopped by here." "Oh. Here, it's so beautiful." Zhong Tingyu said something hesitantly, then lay on her side in Li Yuan's arms again, her voice becoming weak. Seeing that Bai Wuxi seemed to be in a daze, Li Yuan quickly urged, "Xiao Bai, come into the house, I'm very sleepy." "Oh. Oh," Bai Wuxi responded, followed Li Yuan into the house with many doubts. This villa. It was also Li Yuan's first time to stay here. In the previous week or two, he had arranged for people to clean the place. By the way, he and Zhong Tingyu had replaced and purchased many household items. Now he is ready to move in at any time. Entering the villa, Zhong Tingyu had no reaction. She seemed to have really drunk too much tonight. It was Bai Wuxi's first time here. He suppressed his drunkenness and looked at everything in this luxurious villa with mixed emotions. Li Yuan felt a little uneasy when he saw Bai Weixi's appearance. She didn't drink too much tonight, and she didn't look drunk. The first floor is the kitchen, living room, and living room. Our bedroom is on the second floor. We go upstairs. When he heard our bedroom, Bai Weixi took a deep look at Li Yuan, and the sad feeling in his heart faded a lot in an instant. He still cares about himself. Helping Zhong Tingyu and Bai Weixi go up to the second floor, Li Yuan pushed open the door of the master bedroom. This was a specially made luxurious bed, 3 meters wide. This large bed alone cost more than 80,000 yuan. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 414. He helped Zhong Tingyu to the bed, took off her shoes, and was about to cover her with a blanket when Zhong Tingyu woke up. She stared at Li Yuan and Bai Weixi in a daze, and said drunkenly, "Senior, I want it, I want it." Looking at Zhong Tingyu's dazed eyes and the fierce words she said, Li Yuan's heart was startled, and his expression was slightly embarrassed. Just when he wanted to comfort Zhong Tingyu first, he heard the last two words. "Take a bath." "So it's I want to take a bath." Li Yuan was a little amused and replied, "Well, I'll take a bath now. I'll go to turn on the water first." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he glanced at Bai Weixi, who was a little restrained on the side, and directly reached out his hand, pulled her, and went to the bathroom. Compared with the small bathrooms in Feiqiu Mansion and Jiangnan Garden, the bathroom in this villa is undoubtedly much larger. The area of the bathroom is larger than the living room of an ordinary 3-bedroom and 1 living room house. There is a huge bathtub in it, which can fully allow 2 or even 3 people to take a bath together. There is also a huge dressing table with a gorgeous dry and wet separation, on which are placed various cosmetics and skincare products of some luxury brands. Bai Weixi looked at this luxurious bathroom with a dull look. She suddenly thought of what Li Yuan said to her not long ago in the Jade Mansion. The bathroom is too small, it is not convenient for the two to play games, and they want to change to a bigger house. At that time, she thought Li Yuan was just joking, but she didn't expect that it had not been half a month, and they had already moved in. Li Yuan looked at Bai Weixi, who was in a daze again, hugged her waist, and whispered in her ear, "Xiaobai, how about we take a shower first?" Hearing Li Yuan's words, Bai Weixi's cheeks instantly turned red, and she asked shyly, "Brother, do you want to take a shower with me?" Li Yuan smiled mischievously, "Well, the bathroom now is big enough. Hee, it's much more convenient than when we were in the Jade Mansion." As he said, he was ready to pick up Bai Weixi. Bai Weixi quickly dodged, pointed at the bedroom, and said shyly, "Tingyu is here, let her take a shower first." Li Yuan was stunned for a moment, and smiled, "Okay, she's a little drunk, I'll help her wash first, do you want to join us?" "Stinky brother, annoying." Bai Weixi spat. If she took a shower with Li Yuan, she could still accept it. After all, the relationship between the two had reached that point long ago. But it would be too shameful for her to take a shower with Zhong Tingyu, her rival in love. Li Yuan smiled and pulled Bai Weixi to the bedroom next door. This bedroom is also a super large bedroom. The area of each floor of the villa is 200 square meters, which is much larger than the total area of the houses in Jingxiu Villa and Jiangnan Garden. "Xiaobai, then you wait for me here for a while." Bai Weixi glanced at this bedroom and said softly. "Brother, you go first." Li Yuan returned to the bedroom next door, glanced at Zhong Tingyu, and found that she had fallen asleep. She fell asleep so quickly. It seems she really drank too much. Li Yuan muttered, looking at Zhong Tingyu's seductive figure, and a huge expectation suddenly rose in his heart. He kissed Zhong Tingyu on the forehead. Zhong Tingyu seemed to feel the movement, and moved her body with a hum. Li Yuan smiled and picked up Zhong Tingyu by the waist, and took out a set of pajamas from the closet. After coming to the bathroom, the sound of water flow was like a gurgling stream, and Li Yuan supported Zhong Tingyu and took off her clothes one by one. After a while, there was only a graceful body left that would make all men's hormones burst. Li Yuan resisted the impulse in his heart, and while Zhong Tingyu was not completely asleep, he quickly bathed her, put on pajamas, and carried her back to the bedroom. Li Yuan put Zhong Tingyu down and was about to leave when he heard Zhong Tingyu holding Li Yuan's hand in a daze and speaking unconsciously. "Senior, don't leave, stay with me, I want to." This time, Zhong Tingyu's words did not include the word bath at the end. Looking at the peerless beauty in front of him, Li Yuan's impulse had already affected his body, and he wanted to rush over and do her hard. But thinking of Bai Wuxi who was still waiting for him in the next bedroom, and the crazy fantasy deep in his heart, Li Yuan still resisted the urge to start the game immediately. "Xiao Yu, wait for me for a while, I'll take a bath first." Zhong Tingyu resisted the drunkenness, opened her eyes, glanced at Li Yuan, and said hum inaudibly, and closed her eyes again. Seeing this, Li Yuan took a step, walked out of the room lightly, and turned off the bedroom light. Coming to the next bedroom, Bai Wuxi seemed to be a little drunk, lying on the bed with her eyes closed. Li Yuan came to the bed, pinched Bai Wuxi's earlobe, and smiled. "Xiao Bai, are you asleep?" Bai Wuxi woke up, opened his eyes, and asked in surprise when he saw Li Yuan. "Brother, you are so fast, have you finished washing?" Li Yuan smiled mischievously, "I haven't washed yet, I'm waiting for you to join me." "Xiao Bai, come here quickly, I'm already holding it in for a long time." Bai Wuxi looked at Li Yuan's lower body, her face flushed like a red apple, she rolled her eyes at Li Yuan shyly, and spoke shyly. "Brother, hold me." Li Yuan smiled knowingly, "Okay." As he said that, he bent down and picked up Bai Wuxi by the waist, and closed the door by the way, and walked into the bathroom. In the bathroom, the luxurious and spacious bathtub was already filled with water. After Li Yuan took off their clothes, he hugged Bai Wuxi and stepped into the bathtub, starting the first real love duck bath in his life. Li Yuan's big hands kept wandering, and he smiled mischievously, "Xiao Bai, how do you feel?" Bai Wuxi's body was hot, and it felt even hotter than the water temperature. He hugged Li Yuan and lay on him shyly, not daring to look up. "Brother, I'm a little, scared." Li Yuan smiled mischievously, "Don't be afraid first, let's study how to use this bathtub first, so that it will be more comfortable." After that, he stepped into the bathtub directly. Because both of them were experiencing the love duck bath for the first time. They were also very involved in playing the game. With the violent fluctuations of the water surface in the bathtub, both of them completed the ultimate sublimation. Bai Wuxi also screamed in the ups and downs again and again, until he gradually became drunk and sleepy, and gradually fell asleep. Li Yuan held Bai Wuxi, whose eyes were closed, and left the bathroom. In the bedroom, only the faint moonlight came through the curtains. Li Yuan was very conscious at this time, and there was no sign of him being drunk. With his 5.2 vision, he held Bai Wuxi to the bedside and put her down with a nervous mood. At this time, he was very nervous. On the same bed. "Hubby, I'm so sleepy and want to sleep," Bai Wuxi said in a daze, and turned sideways and moved to the middle, trying to leave enough space for Li Yuan. As Bai Wuxi moved, Li Yuan's heart instantly rose to his throat, and his heart was so nervous that it almost jumped out. "I've been tossing and turning all day, and I'm a little tired and sleepy." Li Yuan was so scared that he quickly lay down and hugged Bai Wuxi, trying to move her to his side. "My husband worked hard today. Thank you for celebrating my birthday. Mua, give me a kiss." Bai Wuxi turned around and was about to kiss Li Yuan. Suddenly, when she swung her arm, she accidentally touched the body next to her. The smooth touch was completely different from that on Li Yuan's body, more like her own body. In an instant, Bai Wuxi's head was confused, and she subconsciously trembled with her hands and touched the body next to her. Ah! Ah! Li Yuan thought to himself that it was not good, he had been exposed, and quickly covered Bai Wuxi's mouth with his hands. Xiaobai, don't make a sound. Bai Wuxi was no longer sleepy at this time. She stared at Li Yuan with her big eyes. Under the dim moonlight, her body was shaking constantly. She didn't expect Li Yuan to be so bold. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 415. This kind of scene was something she didn't expect at all, and she didn't even think about it. Bai Wuxi stared straight at Li Yuan, waiting for his explanation. Li Yuan explained softly in embarrassment, "Well, Xiaobai, it's my first time to stay here. I was drunk and went to the wrong room." Listening to Li Yuan's explanation, Bai Wuxi still had some doubts in his heart. Did he really go to the wrong room, or was it intentional? Bai Wuxi's thoughts were in a mess. He looked into Li Yuan's eyes, suddenly opened his mouth, and bit Li Yuan's finger hard. Li Yuan hissed in pain, "Xiaobai, why are you biting me?" "Humph, who made you so bad?" Bai Wuxi snorted and rolled her eyes at Li Yuan. Then, he began to move his body carefully, for fear of touching Zhong Tingyu's body again, and said softly, "I want to go back to the other room." Seeing that Bai Wuxi was about to leave and the cooked duck was about to fly, Li Yuan directly hugged Bai Wuxi, held her in his arms, and whispered in her ear, "Xiaobai, don't leave." Bai Wuxi glanced at Li Yuan and bit her lip, "If I don't leave, do we have to sleep together?" Li Yuan nodded slightly, "Well, it's not impossible." Bai Wuxi stretched out her hand and twisted Li Yuan's body hard, and said in embarrassment, "Damn Li Yuan, you think so well, what do you think I am? Also, if she wakes up and sees me in bed, what will she think? Let me go, I want to go back to the next bedroom to sleep." Li Yuan listened to Bai Wuxi's words, let go of his hand, frowned, and said slightly displeased, "Xiaobai, on my birthday tonight, didn't you say you would do anything for me? Now, you are not even willing to do this." Seeing Li Yuan's somewhat unhappy tone, Bai Wuxi panicked and gave a hesitant answer. "Husband, I didn't mean that, it's just that I can't accept it." "Can't accept it?" Li Yuan's voice was a little colder. "Xiaobai, you say I'm not good enough for you? You can't do what you promised me, right? Or are you just teasing me verbally?" After listening to Li Yuan's words, Bai Wuxi's tears instantly flowed down. He took the initiative to step forward and hug Li Yuan's arm, and then rubbed it with the Bai sisters. "Brother, I really didn't mean that, don't be angry." As Bai Wuxi spoke, she thought of everything Li Yuan had done for her and what she had promised him that night. After hesitating for a moment, she still answered bravely, "Brother, why don't I do it? Don't be angry." Seeing Bai Wuxi's compromise, Li Yuan breathed a sigh of relief, took the initiative to hug Bai Wuxi and spoke in a low voice. "Xiaobai, you are so good." Bai Wuxi thought about the person lying next to her and asked slightly worriedly, "Brother, will she be angry if she finds out?" Li Yuan really didn't know what Zhong Tingyu was thinking, but at this moment, the arrow was on the string and had to be fired. If you miss this village, you really won't have this store. If he didn't give it a try, he would feel a little unwilling. Li Yuan chuckled slightly, "Don't worry, I believe she will be reasonable." After saying that, Li Yuan kissed her directly, picked up Bai Wuxi, and turned her over him, becoming himself, lying in the middle. This time, Li Yuan did not play poker with Bai Wuxi again, but took the initiative to hug him from behind. As Li Yuan continued to harass him, he soon woke up from his deep sleep and shouted Li Yuan's name in a daze. "Senior, "Senior, aren't you asleep yet?" Li Yuan replied softly, "Isn't this waiting for you?" He replied in a daze, "I'm so sleepy. I drank too much at night." Li Yuan, "It's okay, I won't be sleepy for a while. After a few minutes. I feel the time is ripe." Li Yuan directly took the opportunity to get out of Wangzhou. The loop broadcast mode started, and the voice started to sing rhythmically like a live broadcast of a 91 love drama. Thanks to the reader 20210918182914385 for the reward of 300 points, and the reader Maxim Xiaomi and Kaiu for the reward of 100 points. Chapter 241 The dream has come true, but something is wrong with the atmosphere. At the end of October in the Magic City, it was already a bit cooler. Dim moonlight. Like naughty children, they scrambled to get into the villa, got through the glass window, and wanted to explore the bedroom. Feeling the familiar movement coming from around me. Bai Wuxi hid aside with an incomprehensible feeling, blinking her eyelashes, and her body was shaking nervously, as if her whole body had nowhere to rest. Her mind went blank. My heart is already in my throat. Not daring to make any movement, his cheeks were red with shame as he listened to the other party singing loudly. The luxurious super-large bed seems to be rooted in the ground, only shaking slightly, showing that it is bearing different pressures. Bai Wuxi had never thought that this special scene would happen to him before. In her heart, she longs for the kind of sincere relationship that lasts for two people for a lifetime, but because of her family, she is very rational. But as she spent time with Li Yuan, seeing how much he devoted to her, and listening to the stories he told, she was so proud that she continued to compromise on herself and lower her bottom line. When I found out that Li Yuan was playing poker on the bed with his college roommate, this feeling of excitement and shame made Bai Wuxi want to find a hole to crawl into immediately. Smelly Li Yuan, stinky brother, how could you become so indecent and think about doing such a thing in your mind? This makes me, how can I still face people in the future, it's so shameful. While Bai Wuxi was thinking about it, suddenly, Li Yuan's big hand reached directly behind her, placed it on her body, grabbed her hand, and pulled it towards Li Yuan. Bai Wuxi was pulled to Li Yuan's side unexpectedly, tightly pressed against Li Yuan's strong shoulders, and was immediately frightened and trembling all over her body. Before she came to her senses, she saw that Li Yuan directly grabbed her hand and placed it on his waist and abdomen, forming a posture of hugging Li Yuan from behind. At this time, they were lying side by side. Li Yuan hugged her from behind again, shaking rhythmically. Bai Wuxi held Li Yuan in fear, her body stretched straight, and for a moment, she was at a loss. This unprecedented feeling made his brain completely drunk, and his mind and body were more awake and excited than ever before. The magical situation that he had only seen in videos and heard people brag about in his previous life actually happened to him. However, this method was a bit shameful. After a while, seeing that she was exhausted, Li Yuan did not dare to toss too much. He turned his body and faced Bai Wuxi. Under the dim moonlight, Bai Wuxi's beautiful eyes met Li Yuan's. Her clear, bright, and somewhat blurred and frightened eyes seemed to contain all kinds of emotions. Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi's frightened eyes, smiled slightly, and patted her lightly with his hand, indicating that she should turn around. Bai Wuxi closed her mouth and did not dare to say a word, for fear of waking the other party up. If the two met, they would be completely ashamed. But now, I am just secretly with Li Yuan, it is a one-sided behavior, it won't be so embarrassing. Bai Wuxi turned around tremblingly, and felt Li Yuan hugging her waist, like a cooked crayfish, her whole body arched up. Seeing Li Yuan suddenly leave her body, Xiaoyu's dazed head was a little confused, and she uttered a confused muttering. "Senior, senior." The whole person moved towards Li Yuan subconsciously, like an octopus, hugged Li Yuan from behind. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ryu Xiahua. Chapter 416. Her slender hands, while hugging Li Yuan's body. Bai Wuxi was strongly suppressing her voice and emotions. When she was touched like this, she felt like she was electrocuted. A current instantly passed through her body and flowed all over her body. At this moment, Bai Wuxi's nervousness had reached its peak. She was afraid that she would suddenly wake up and find out what she and Li Yuan were doing. While she was worried, she also had a special expectation in her heart, expecting how Zhōn would react if she suddenly woke up and knew the truth. Bai Wuxi waited for a while in fear, and then she saw her touching herself, but she didn't wake up directly as she worried. It really seemed like she was really drunk. After touching Bai Wuxi's body, she didn't seem to find anything different. After mumbling "Senior, Senior" from the corner of her mouth, she fell asleep again while hugging Li Yuan from behind. Li Yuan himself also completed the final sprint in fear. Li Yuan whispered contentedly beside Bai Wuxi. He, Xiao Bai, you are awesome, thank you for all you have done for me, I am very happy. Bai Wuxi rolled her eyes at Li Yuan, then glanced at the one who had turned over. She was still very nervous, her voice trembling. Hubby, as long as you are happy, I can do anything. Looking at Bai Wuxi, who was so well behaved and sensible in his arms, Li Yuan felt a flash of guilt. If the factors in the previous life are excluded, Bai Wuxi in this life is really a perfect girlfriend. She is sensible, gentle, beautiful, cute, cool, and a queen. She knows how to care for others, and she doesn't have high requirements for herself. As long as she has a house in Shanghai and her financial conditions are a little better, it's fine. She was also his deskmate in high school, the white moonlight in his heart, and they could be regarded as childhood sweethearts. They were admitted to the same university. If it were seen by others, everything would be incredible and perfect. Just like good friends Suji, Wang Shui, and others, they couldn't understand why he became a scumbag who cheated on multiple women after entering university. However, he, the Dragon Slayer, eventually became a dragon, and became the kind of person he hated the most in his previous life. Li Yuan sighed in his heart. He was a greedy man and was reluctant to give up any of the 4 girls who had a close relationship with him, unless they firmly left him on their own initiative. In that case, he had no way to do anything, just like Xiao Yuer. Since Xiao Yuer left that day, he called her almost every day, but the sound was always that the phone was turned off. There was no response to the message on QQ. The QQ number "Love to Eat Coriander" seemed to have completed its last mission and completely fell silent. The girl who used to be full of her eyes, who wanted to chat with her every time she had time, and who called her Xiahua brother, was like a shooting star. After passing through his world, she disappeared completely. He didn't even know where she was or what she was doing now, and he didn't have the face to go to the capital to find her. Li Yuan recalled the scenes in his mind, looking at the well-behaved Bai Wuxi in front of him with mixed feelings. This girl has done enough for him in this life. Li Yuan kissed Bai Wuxi's smooth forehead and said seriously, "Thank you, Xiao Bai." "Well, husband, I'll go wash up." Bai Wuxi blushed, and the alcohol and sleepiness had already surged into her head. After the passion, she always felt drowsy. Li Yuan touched Bai Wuxi's head and smiled, "Well, I'll go with you." After washing again, Li Yuan carried Bai Wuxi to the bedroom next door. He looked at the time and it was almost 3:30 in the morning. It was past midnight when we left the hotel. By the time we got back to the Galaxy Bay Villa by car, plus the time for showering and playing poker twice, a long time had passed. Bai Wuxi resisted the urge to sleep and looked at Li Yuan with expectation. "Husband, which room will you sleep in tonight?" Li Yuan rubbed her head and smiled, in this room. Hearing that Li Yuan would sleep with her, Bai Wuxi immediately hugged Li Yuan's arm happily, lay sweetly in his arms, and closed her eyes. Just a few minutes later, Bai Wuxi's nose was filled with even breathing. She was really tired today. Li Yuan hugged Bai Wuxi and covered her with a quilt. The feeling of sleepiness and fatigue surged all over her body. In a few minutes, she fell asleep. The next day, the weather in the Magic City suddenly became bad, just like a girl's mood, changing face at any time. The dripping raindrops splashed on the glass, waking up Zhong Tingyu who was sleeping. Stretching and yawning, Zhong Tingyu rubbed his head. He drank a lot of wine last night, so his head was still a little confused and not very clear even now. Looking at the empty big bed except for himself, Zhong Tingyu's head was confused, and he carefully recalled what happened last night. Alas, I drank too much wine alone last night, and I drank too much accidentally. I didn't expect that kind of sweet wine would have such a strong after effect. Where is Li Yuan? He seemed to have brought Wei 11 and me back last night. How come I can't remember anything since I entered the bedroom? I won't drink so much next time. It's so uncomfortable. Zhong Tingyu muttered, smelling the faint smell of alcohol on her body, and shook her head to make herself sober as soon as possible. After a long while, Zhong Tingyu tried to recall everything that happened last night, and looked at the big bed and her body again, and realized something was wrong. Last night, Li Yuan seemed to have bathed me, and then when I fell asleep, he did that with me. Hey, something is wrong, why do I vaguely remember that I seem to have met another? Thinking of this, Zhong Tingyu was shocked, and thinking of Bai Wuxi coming back with her last night, a terrible possibility suddenly came to her mind. After this idea emerged, it quickly took root in her mind, and became clearer and clearer, forming a complete context in her mind. Did we really do such a ridiculous thing last night? Zhong Tingyu murmured to herself, her mind was blank, and her face instantly blushed when she thought of the vague scene last night. If it's true, it's too shameful. Not necessarily, if such a ridiculous thing really happened, how could Li Yuan and Wuxi not sleep here? Zhong Tingyu murmured to herself, cheering herself up, and she didn't want to believe that the experience last night was real. After putting on pajamas and listening to the sound of raindrops outside the window, Zhong Tingyu tiptoed out of the bedroom with doubts in her heart. She and Li Yuan chose this villa together, including all the household items added in it, which were also selected by her personally. Crossing the corridor and the small living room, Zhong Tingyu's heart was in her throat, and she walked lightly to the bedroom next door. This bedroom is one of the two master bedrooms, and the layout is almost exactly the same as the bedroom she just slept in. At this moment, the door of this bedroom is not closed, but half open, and you can see the scene inside through the gap. Zhong Tingyu moved her feet gently, came to the front of the bedroom, and looked inside through the gap. I saw that on the spacious and luxurious bed, Li Yuan was hugging Bai Wuxi and was still sleeping soundly. Zhong Tingyu looked at the bedroom again with complicated eyes, and walked into the bathroom without making a sound. When she saw her clothes and Bai Wuxi's clothes casually placed on the hanger, and there was a pool of water with sporadic bubbles in the luxurious bathtub. In this situation, it is obvious that some special games happened here last night. Zhong Tingyu blushed, spat, and went to the bathroom to wash up. After washing up, looking at the stunning face in the mirror that would make all boys admire and girls envy, Zhong Tingyu's cheeks were slightly red, and her eyes were a little confused. She is now in a very complicated mood. She doesn't know how to face Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi after they get up. Should she pretend to be drunk last night and know nothing? Or, go and ask in person what happened last night? Shaking her confused head, Zhong Tingyu bit her lip, left the bathroom with a complicated look, and went to the kitchen downstairs, where she cooked millet porridge, and baked bread and cheese. Humph, you stinky senior, you are having fun with other girls upstairs, and I have to make breakfast for you downstairs. Zhong Tingyu thought about Li Yuan sleeping with Bai Wuxi in his arms in the bedroom upstairs, wrinkled her nose, and muttered in dissatisfaction. When Li Yuan woke up, it was already around 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was still awakened by the vibration of his mobile phone. Li Yuan held the mobile phone with sleepy eyes, looked at the caller, and answered the call. Wang Shui's slightly excited voice came from the phone. "Brother Yuan, are you awake?" Li Yuan yawned. "I was just woken up by your phone call." Wang Shui, "Haha, sorry, I thought you were awake, sorry. Li Yuan, "Xiao Shui, you called me early in the morning, what's the matter?" Wang Shui, "Brother Yuan, it's late, it's already 10 o'clock in the morning. It's like this, wasn't it classmate Xiaobai's birthday last night? I sent them all back to the hotel. Now they are basically up and having breakfast in the hotel. They asked me to ask you if you have any plans today. If there are no other plans, they will go back to school first." Listening to Wang Shui's words, Li Yuan shook his head. "I don't have any plans today, it's still raining outside, they can go back to school if they want. You go to the hotel manager and ask the hotel to drive them back." Wang Shui nodded. "Okay, I'll contact him right away. By the way, Brother Yuan, I have good news for you. If the confession fails, chase her bestie." Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 417. Li Yuan smiled and said, "Oh, what good news. Did you win the lottery?" Wang Shui, "Of course not, I will never win the lottery in my life." "He, Brother Yuan, Daji got that little hot pepper last night." Hearing this news, Li Yuan was shocked and asked quickly, "Did he really get it?" Wang Shui, "Well, Daji told me personally. When I knocked on the door, I heard classmate Yuchen scolding Daji in the hotel room. He, Daji is really good. He finally got it this time." At this time, Bai Wei 11 woke up leisurely and asked confusedly, "What did you get?" Li Yuan coughed, rubbed Bai Wei 11's head, and smiled, "Ahem, nothing." Bai Wei 11 stared at Li Yuan. "No, I seem to hear you talking about Yu Chen and Suji." Li Yuan no longer concealed it and explained with a smile, "Haha, that's it, Daji and Yu Chen have become real boyfriend and girlfriend." "Real boyfriend and girlfriend," Bai Wei 11 repeated the sentence, thinking of what Li Yuan said about getting it, and immediately understood what this meant. Her pretty face blushed, and she gently pinched Li Yuan's arm, and her beautiful eyes blinked. "Yu Chen also drank a lot of bars last night." Li Yuan nodded. "Huh, I knew it." Bai Wei 11 rolled her eyes at Li Yuan, with an expression that it was as expected. As Wang Yuchen's best friend, she knew that Wang Yuchen almost had sex with Su Ji on the night she and Li Yuan had sex. Because they often communicated, she naturally understood her bestie's thoughts, knowing that she had been guarding her body all the time, and was not completely satisfied with Su Ji, and from time to time she complained about Su Ji's faults in front of her. Although she also reminded Wang Yuchen indirectly, she didn't hear it in her heart at all. She could probably guess some reasons, among which she and Li Yuan accounted for many factors. Wang Yuchen looked at Li Yuan buying her a sports car, giving her all kinds of branded jewelry, clothes, and cosmetics, and living in a large house with exquisite decoration. In her heart, she would definitely subconsciously compare Su Ji and Li Yuan. Li Yuan smiled. He, Daji has been chasing her for so long, and now they are together again, it's normal to have a relationship. Bai Wuxi glanced at Li Yuan with a smile, but didn't say anything. How could she not understand her bestie's little thoughts? If she hadn't drunk at the birthday party last night, she would definitely not give Su Ji a chance for the time being. Li Yuan raised his cell phone and asked, "Xiao Bai, should you let your classmates go back to school now?" Bai Wuxi thought for a moment and said, "Let them go back to school. They had a lot of fun last night. By the way, How are they going to go back? Take a taxi. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Shui's voice came from the phone. Don't worry, sister-in-law, brother Yuan has already arranged it. I will take the hotel's special car to send them back to school. Bai Wuxi was startled when she heard the voice from the phone, and suddenly became shy again. Wang Shui's sister-in-law really touched her heart. Bai Wuxi shyly replied, well, thank you, Wang Shui. Wang Shui, he, what's the trouble, it's just a piece of cake. Li Yuan asked, Xiao Shui, is there anything else? If not, I'll hang up. Wang Shui shook his head and joked, no, brother Yuan, you and your sister-in-law can live a good life together. Li Yuan laughed and scolded, asshole, you, don't forget to seize the opportunity, among us brothers, you are the only single dog. Wang Shui, Wu, brother Yuan, you kill people and destroy their hearts, I won't live. After hanging up Wang Shui's phone, Li Yuan looked at the beautiful Bai Wuxi and hugged her in his arms. When he was about to release the hormones in his body, Bai Wuxi quickly pushed Li Yuan away and looked at the bedroom door shyly. Brother, the door is not closed, Tingyu is next to us. Li Yuan smiled indifferently, it's okay, we were lying on the same bed last night, what's there to be shy about? Bai Wuxi's pretty face turned red, and she stammered, but, if she suddenly saw it, it would be so embarrassing. How can there be so many buts? Li Yuan interrupted Bai Wuxi's words rudely, leaned down directly, and said domineeringly. If Xiaoyu sees it, then come together. Stinky brother, you are so mean. Don't think about it again in the future. What happened last night was only that one time. He, whatever you say, come on, baby. Zhong Tingyu downstairs was bored waiting for Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi to come down, and her stomach was growling with hunger. After checking the time, it was already past 10 o'clock. Zhong Tingyu muttered. It's already 10 o'clock, should I get up? Should I go up and take a look? After hesitating for a while, Zhong Tingyu still stood up and walked towards the stairs, and deliberately stepped heavily on the floor, wanting to remind Li Yuan and the others. As soon as she reached the second floor and stood in the small living room, she heard Bai Wuxi's unique shouting from the bedroom. She was too familiar with this sound. When she was playing poker with Li Yuan, every time she was defeated by Li Yuan, she couldn't suppress her heart and shouted loudly. Zhong Tingyu spat, early in the morning, she started to cheat. In an instant, Zhong Tingyu stopped the steps that were about to take, looked at the half-hidden bedroom with resentment, stomped her feet hard on the floor, made a little noise, and went downstairs again. In the bedroom, Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi naturally heard the noise that Zhong Tingyu deliberately made. Bai Wuxi's face flushed instantly, and she lay on Li Yuan, hugged him tightly, buried her head in his arms, and dared not look up. Thanks to Yun Fengqing for the 500 points reward. Chapter 242 The Offensive and Defensive Alliance between Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu. Bai Wuxi lay on Li Yuan and hugged his neck tightly. She snorted shyly, humph, stinky brother, it's all your fault. You knew to torment me early in the morning. You must have been seen by Tingyu. Li Yuan replied indifferently, he, what's there to be afraid of? If she saw it, wouldn't it be more interesting? Bah. Stinky brother, you have become too bad now, completely different from before. Bai Wuxi spat and glared at Li Yuan fiercely. Then she opened her mouth and lay on Li Yuan's chest, biting and sucking hard. Bai, why are you biting me? Li Yuan grimaced in pain from Bai Wuxi's bite, and bit harder. After being bitten, he naturally had to make up for it from other places, so that it would be fair. Humph, I just want to bite you, who made you so bad? Bai Wuxi raised her head and snorted, looking at Li Yuan's chest with only a faint lip mark left, panting and muttering to herself. Big bad guy, I want to leave you an unforgettable mark on you. Bai Wuxi kissed and sucked for a while, and muttered in confusion, "Hey, how come there is no mark?" Li Yuan laughed dumbly, and he realized that Bai Wuxi wanted to grow mushrooms for him. However, growing mushrooms also requires skills. Even if you kiss your mouth like this, you can't grow mushrooms. Li Yuan laughed secretly in his heart. See how your brother teaches you how to grow mushrooms. He raised his head and put his mouth close to the space between the two bears of Bai Wuxi, and he also learned to give Bai Wuxi the same treatment. Li Yuan's mushroom cultivation level is much more experienced than Bai Wuxi, a newbie. He just moved his lips, sucked and sucked hard, and in Bai Wuxi's surprised eyes, a heart-shaped mushroom was formed after a moment. Bai Wuxi looked down at the mushroom between the two bears, stared at Li Yuan with a blushing face, and asked in surprise, "Stinky brother, how did you do this?" Li Yuan did not answer, but took a deep breath, and his whole body softened. Li Yuan took a breath, pinched Bai Wuxi's young sisters, and asked with a smile, "Xiao Bai, do you want to know?" Bai Wuxi turned over and was wiping his body with a wet towel. Hearing Li Yuan's question, he shyly nodded his chin. Bai Wuxi's pretty face instantly turned red, and she glared at Li Yuan fiercely. "Stinky brother, if you bully me again, I will ignore you." When Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi came downstairs together, they saw Zhong Tingyu on the phone. Seeing that Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi had done something bad, Zhong Tingyu curled her lips, hung up the phone, and teased, "Hey, Senior, Wuxi, you got up so early, I thought you would have to dawdle until noon. If the confession fails, chase her bestie." Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 418. Bai Wuxi met Zhong Tingyu's half-smiling gaze, and instantly thought of the ridiculous things that happened last night in his mind. His eyes dodged slightly, not daring to look at Zhong Tingyu. Really, that kind of thing was so shameful that she felt shameless to face Zhong Tingyu. Bai Wuxi couldn't help but think of Zhong Tingyu's voice when she was there last night, and glanced at Zhong Tingyu with a slightly strange look. This goddess who looked very cold and ignored others, at that time, he was particularly lively. Perhaps this is the so-called sense of contrast? Zhong Tingyu suddenly panicked when she saw Bai Wuxi's strange eyes, and her voice was a little panicked. "Wuxi, why are you staring at me like that?" Bai Wuxi was also a little flustered and answered hesitantly, No, it's nothing." "Oh," Zhong Tingyu's eyes flickered with a thoughtful expression. Judging from Bai Wuxi's reaction, the ridiculous thing last night might be true. Thinking that Li Yuan had done such a ridiculous thing when he was drunk, Zhong Tingyu couldn't help but glared at Li Yuan. This big bastard really went too far. He just mentioned it casually as a joke last time, but he actually dared to do it. Being glared at by Zhong Tingyu inexplicably, Li Yuan rubbed his eyes in confusion. Before he could speak, Zhong Tingyu's voice came over. "The food is ready, come and eat." Looking at the breakfast on the table, although it was just simple millet porridge, toast, egg tarts, and salad dressing, Li Yuan was also very surprised. He didn't expect that Zhong Tingyu would still make breakfast for him and Bai Wuxi after this. Li Yuan praised sincerely, "Little Moon, the breakfast you made is so delicious." Zhong Tingyu chuckled, took a sip of rice porridge, and hummed. "Senior, why are you so good at praising others today? Did you do something wrong last night and feel guilty now?" As soon as Li Yuan heard what Zhong Tingyu said, he understood in his heart that she already knew what happened last night and was beating herself up. However, Zhong Tingyu's expression didn't seem particularly angry. Li Yuan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If Zhong Tingyu got angry, even sulked and ignored him, and left the villa directly, then it would most likely be impossible to have such a happy life in the future. Looking at it now, the situation is not bad. At the very least, Bai Wuxi's opposition is not that firm. According to Zhong Tingyu, if she works harder, her relationship with Baiwixi will become better and they will become true best friends like they did in her previous life. Hey, it's really possible, just wear a pair of pants. Li Yuan coughed and asked tentatively, ahem, I drank a little too much last night. I forgot what happened. Little Moon, little Bai, what happened last night? Listening to Li Yuan's shameless answer, Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu laughed in unison. They looked at each other, then quickly put away their smiles, and stopped this shameful topic with understanding. Li Yuan's face is now as thick-skinned as the city wall, while the two of them are still very thin-skinned. After finishing breakfast in silence, Bai Wuxi took the initiative to wash the dishes in the kitchen without waiting for Zhong Tingyu to take action. Li Yuan was sitting on the sofa, and just as he was about to turn on the TV, he saw Zhong Tingyu sitting over, and without saying a word, she gave him a hard squeeze on his lower abdomen. Li Yuan grimaced in pain and took a breath of cold air. This time, Zhong Tingyu truly exercised her rights as a girlfriend. After Zhong Tingyu finished venting her anger, she saw that Li Yuan was trembling in pain but did not make a sound. The anger in his heart dissipated a little. You bastard, why didn't you shout? Li Yuan grinned, because it doesn't hurt. Zhong Tingyu raised her chin, oh, is it because I don't have enough strength? Li Yuan stretched out his hand to hold Zhong Tingyu in his arms, and said with a smile, I didn't finish what I just said, because it was you who pinched her, so even if it hurts again, I won't feel the pain. Zhong Tingyu raised her head, shook her hair, and snorted, hey, big bad guy, what's the point? Li Yuan smiled and replied, Little Moon, have you heard of this sentence? Zhong Tingyu asked, what are you talking about? Hitting is kissing, scolding is love. The harder you twist me, the more you love me. Li Yuan hugged Zhong Tingyu and stared lovingly at these flawless faces. Little Moon, I know you love me, that's why I don't feel pain. Zhong Tingyu chuckled and rolled her beautiful eyes at Li Yuan, humph, senior, you know how to be glib. Li Yuan, no way, I am telling the truth. If you don't believe me, I will show you my heart. Zhong Tingyu pouted and said jokingly, okay, show me your heart, and I will forgive you for the bad thing you did last night. Li Yuan chuckled, stuffed his hands into his pajamas, and then took them out again, making heart gestures with his hands. Here, my love is given to you. Seeing Li Yuan solemnly making love gestures with his hands, Zhong Tingyu chuckled, his big eyes turned into crescents, glared at Li Yuan, and hummed. Senior, your heart is empty. Does that mean you have no heart at all? Oh, no wonder you are so carefree. It turns out your heart is empty. Hee, senior, am I right? Li Yuan reached out and rubbed Zhong Tingyu's head and hummed. Little Moon, you've become naughty now. You dare to tease your husband. I'll punish you with my family rules. As he said that, he directly bullied Zhong Tingyu and pressed her down on the sofa. He lowered his head and kissed the sexy red lips in front of him. Zhong Tingyu's mouth was blocked and she panted, woo woo woo, big bad guy, is this your family rules? Li Yuan held Zhong Tingyu's hands with both hands, looked at the peerless beauty in front of him, and smiled. Hee, how about it, you know how powerful the family rules are, if you don't listen, I'll give you a stick education. Zhong Tingyu listened to Li Yuan's stick education and understood it instantly. She spat with a red face. Ah, bah. Big bastard, why are you so frivolous now? Li Yuan just smiled and didn't answer. He gave the most real answer with his actions. When Zhong Tingyu saw that Li Yuan was really going to start stick education, she was immediately frightened. It was broad daylight, and still on the sofa in the living room, Bai Wuxi was still washing in the kitchen. After experiencing the absurd things last night, Zhong Tingyu had no doubt that Li Yuan really had the desire and courage to enforce the family law on her here. This big bad guy was very bad and very lustful now. Seeing that Li Yuan was really going to start enforcing the family law, Zhong Tingyu panicked and begged for mercy. Senior, I was wrong, let me go, Wuxi is still here. Li Yuan smiled evilly, little moon, where are you feeling proud just now? Do you know how powerful the family law is now? Zhong Tingyu bit her lip, looking pitiful. I'm scared, senior, your family law is too powerful, I'm so scared. Li Yuan was a little itchy at Zhong Tingyu's appearance, and the dragon began to raise his head again, staring at the playful and jumping Zhong sisters, and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Xiao Yueliang, I see that you are not afraid of the family rules, but want to be punished by the family rules, right? Zhong Tingyu pursed her lips and chuckled, hee, senior, guess what? At this moment, a puzzled voice suddenly came over. Hey, what are you two doing? Li Yuan looked up and saw that Bai Wuxi was staring at the two of them with a blushing face. Zhong Tingyu saw Bai Wuxi seeing this scene, and hurriedly turned her head away shyly, struggling to get up, and spoke in a mosquito-like voice. Li Yuan, let me go. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, let go of Zhong Tingyu, stood up, clapped his hands, and did not explain, and directly changed the subject. Xiao Bai, Xiao Yueliang, it's raining outside. Should we go back to school or stay here? The weather in the Magic City is very bad today. It was just a drizzle in the morning, but it turned into heavy rain near noon. The sky outside began to darken, and there were faint sounds of lightning and thunder. Bai Wuxi looked outside the house, and then looked at the house. In fact, she had many questions in her heart that she wanted to ask Li Yuan. She wanted to know what was going on with this villa and when it was bought. Bai Wuxi blinked and answered aloud, it's raining heavily outside, let's wait until the rain stops before going back. Just listen to Wuxi, wait until the rain stops before going back to school. Zhong Tingyu didn't want to go back to school either. The small bed in school is not as comfortable as the big bed in this villa. Besides, today is the weekend, there is no need to go to class, so she can stay here. Seeing that both girlfriends were unwilling to go back, Li Yuan naturally had no objection, and he himself didn't want to go back either. Last night, that incident finally happened. Now is the time to strike while the iron is hot to further ease the relationship between Zhong Tingyu and Bai Wuxi. Now is a good opportunity. It's raining heavily outside and there's no way to go anywhere. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 419. Li Yuan smiled, okay, then let's stay at home. Bai Wuxi suddenly said, brother, won't you take me to visit your home? Let's take a tour. Li Yuan was slightly startled, but nodded when he saw Bai Wuxi's expectant eyes. It's normal for Bai Wuxi to be curious about this villa, but she never had time to see it. Li Yuan smiled and said, okay, I just bought this villa not long ago, and it's my first time to live here. Xiao Bai, Xiao Yu, you two can help me refer to it and see if there is anything that needs to be adjusted. As he said that, he winked at Zhong Tingyu secretly. He and Zhong Tingyu looked at this villa together, and the things in it were also bought with Zhong Tingyu. It can be said that Zhong Tingyu is more like the hostess here, more familiar than himself. But at this moment, he couldn't tell Bai Wuxi directly. Otherwise, with Bai Wuxi's character, she would not be able to break through the defense directly and explode with anger. Seeing that Bai Wuxi had been so good and obedient recently, Li Yuan couldn't bear to abuse her anymore. That was too immoral. Zhong Tingyu looked at Li Yuan's eyes, pouted, and hummed in her heart, thinking to herself, Li Yuan is just a big pig's hooves. When I came to see this house, I lied to myself that this would be their new home in the future. But, not even 2 weeks later, he brought other girls to his home. Although she was a little reluctant, Zhong Tingyu still chose to cooperate with Li Yuan obediently. Li Yuan took two girls, Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu, to introduce them from the basement of the room. This is the basement of the villa, with an area of about 100 square meters. I plan to divide it into two areas. One is a safe room, which can store some jewelry, gold, etc. The other part is used as a wine cellar and collection room to store some famous cigarettes and wines, antiques, curios, etc. Of course, it's still empty now. There's nothing there. I'll wait until the decisive moment to buy some drinks and put them in. What do you two think of this basement? Zhong Tingyu naturally had no objection, while Bai Wuxi looked at the basement carefully. It was said to be a basement, but the space inside was very large. The 100 square meter apartment area was already equivalent to a 120 plus square meter residential house outside. She felt it was a bit wasteful that such a large area was just used as a storage room, but she didn't have the nerve to say anything. And as she learned more about Li Yuan, she felt that the fog shrouding Li Yuan became thicker and thicker. Every time she uncovered one layer, it would be blocked by another layer, as if she could never see clearly or guess through. Fine. Bai Wuxi looked deeply at Li Yuan and gave this answer. Li Yuan smiled, went to the first floor again, and showed the two of them around. He mainly introduced Bai Wuxi. The first floor is the living room, kitchen, public toilet, nanny's room, and guest room. There is also a small garden outside, where you can make a glass house and plant some flowers and plants. Then, the three of them went to the second and third floors. Look at this place. I plan to use this place as a home theater and home KTV. You can lie here and watch movies and sing songs. The effect is much more comfortable than watching TV in the living room. As Li Yuan spoke, he directly turned on the singing mode of the KTV. Various flashing lights were constantly shaking, illuminating the entertainment room. Hey, Xiao Bai, Xiao Yu, do you two want to try the sound effect? Bai Wuxi looked shocked when he saw that this home theater had really turned into a home version of KTV. What kind of fairy life is this? A villa with 3 floors, plus a basement, and more than 700 square meters. If you live here, you will definitely be very comfortable. If you have nothing to do, you can plant flowers and take a bath. You can stand on the balcony and look at the bustling scenery of the magic city. When you are free, you can also lie here, watch a movie, and sing for a while. The mood of life is really full. Got it? Is this the life of a truly rich person? Is this also the strength of his own man? Can I live here in the future? Many thoughts suddenly appeared in Bai Wuxi's mind, and his eyes looking at Li Yuan became more complicated. She even feels a little inferior now. Compared with Li Yuan, she is just an ordinary female college student with good looks. She is completely crushed in every aspect. After the audio, projection, and other equipment on the third floor were installed, Zhong Tingyu hadn't tried it yet. At this time, listening to Li Yuan's words, she was a little eager to try it. Because it was in her own home, she didn't feel the slightest bit embarrassed. Hee, let me try. Zhong Tingyu turned on the stereo and computer, found a song Superstar by She, and hummed softly. When you smile, you sing praises, when you frown, you feel heartache. I have no time to pay attention to me. Listening to Zhong Tingyu singing, Li Yuan listened to the sound quality of the speakers. It was indeed good. It was better than the ordinary mass-market KTV that he and Xia's Haijin went to that day. After Zhong Tingyu finished singing, she asked with a smile, "How is it? Is the sound effect pretty good?" Li Yuan smiled and nodded, "It's very good. It can indeed be used as a KTV. Xiao Bai, do you want to give it a try?" Bai Wuxi looked deeply at Li Yuan, hesitated, and nodded. She also chose a classic Cantonese version of the old song Qian Ju song. In the future, even if thousands of songs float on my road in the distance, in the future, even if thousands of evening stars shine brighter than the moon tonight. After Bai Wuxi finished singing, Li Yuan couldn't help but applaud and praised, "Xiao Bai, you can sing Cantonese songs? You sing really well. Why haven't I heard you sing before?" Bai Wuxi smiled calmly, "Before, you didn't invite me to sing much." "Haha, that's right," Li Yuan touched his nose. In his previous life, after the college entrance examination and before going to college, he invited Bai Wuxi and Wang Yuchen to sing in KTV twice, but they didn't sing Cantonese songs. In this life, he has been busy writing novels, speculating in stocks, and taking a driver's license test. At that time, he didn't want to pay attention to Bai Wuxi at all, and he really didn't know that her Cantonese songs were so beautiful. "We have finished visiting this villa. How about the three of us watch a movie here?" Li Yuan asked. Bai Wuxi nodded, "Okay. Can you find a good movie here?" "There are all the old movies, such as various European and American blockbusters, and some domestic Hong Kong movies, etc. I'll look for what your teacher likes." Li Yuan switched the mode to the movie channel, which had various classic domestic and foreign movies. Zhong Tingyu suggested, "How about we watch Titanic?" "Wuxi, what do you think?" "Yeah, okay," Bai Wuxi smiled and nodded in agreement. "Brother, what about you?" As the most well-known European and American love movie, the two girls also want to watch it. Li Yuan looked at the various movie titles flashing on the screen. He actually wanted to watch science fiction movies, such as The Day After Tomorrow. "I can do it too, so let's watch Titanic." Outside, the heavy rain continued to fall, and it even got heavier, and lightning and thunder began to appear. The thunderous sound that resounded through the heaven and earth made Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu tremble even in the room. They couldn't help but squeeze into Li Yuan's arms, one on the left and one on the right, trying to find a sense of security. With beauties in his arms and watching a love movie, Li Yuan's mind soon shifted from the plot of the movie to the two beauties in his arms, and his big hands began to become restless. Zhong Tingyu and Bai Wuxi were attacked by Li Yuan without martial ethics, and they twisted Li Yuan's waist fiercely at the same time. "Hiss, Xiao Bai, Xiao Yu, can you two be gentle?" Zhong Tingyu snorted coldly, "Humph, Li Yuan, what bad things are you going to do again? Don't think we don't know. Don't even think about it." "Right, Wuxi. Yeah, he has become too bad now. He thinks about those shameful things all day long." Bai Wuxi smiled and echoed. Looking at the dim private cinema and the restless Li Yuan, he naturally understood the idea. It must be that after Li Yuan tasted the sweetness of last night, he was still greedy and wanted to do it again in the private cinema. Zhong Tingyu smiled and said, "Yes, he was not like this before. Now he is very greasy, glib, and bold. He can do anything absurd." Bai Wuxi continued to agree, "Tingyu, you are right. He was just a playboy before, but now he is even more daring. He doesn't even keep his hands clean when watching a movie. I was fascinated by it." Zhong Tingyu also agreed with a smile, "Such a touching love story, I cried, but he seemed to have not watched it at all, just wanted to touch me, he is really heartless." Bai Wuxi, "Yes, his heart is too cruel, I cried so hard, brother, is your heart made of stone?" Zhong Tingyu smiled secretly, "Senior, I am asking you a question, is Titanic not good? Isn't the movie touching?" Seeing that Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu, the two rivals in love, suddenly began to criticize him in unison, Li Yuan was confused and felt like he was dreaming. When did Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu, two fake sisters, become so close? It was as if they had suddenly signed an offensive and defensive alliance contract and began to unite against the outside world and point their guns at themselves. Seeing them singing the same tune, I wonder if they are really good girlfriends. Chapter 243 Love rivals become girlfriends, licking dogs, and green tea. In their previous life, as the two campus beauties of Daxia University, Baiwuxi and Zhong Tingyu were roommates. Perhaps it was because of the mutual appreciation between beauties, the two of them had a good relationship and were real good girlfriends, the kind who would be bridesmaids for each other when they got married. But in this life, because of Li Yuan's two-way insertion, the two of them had long become love rivals who were incompatible and tit for tat. Li Yuan also heard Ding Shanshan and the others talk about the situation in the girls' dormitory in a vague way, which could only be described as Cold War and tragic. He had already found someone to change Zhong Tingyu's dormitory in order to reduce the conflict between the two. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 420. It's just that Zhong Tingyu kept dragging it until now. At this time, listening to Baiwuxi and Zhong Tingyu singing and criticizing himself, Li Yuan not only did not feel uncomfortable, but felt a little happy in his heart. As a man and a carefree scumbag, he had naturally imagined that several girlfriends would become real best friends and live happily together like the news he saw on the internet. Together, you can often enjoy multiple times of happiness. But the reality is simply not like that. He once thought that Zhang Ziyu, the quirky and lively girl who was the most love-minded, chose to disappear from his own world after finding out how many boats he was in. Until now, there has been no news. The cold and arrogant goddess Zhong Tingyu, who thought she would choose to leave, chose to acquiesce in the relationship with the help of her cheap mother-in-law. However, overall, it made him feel at ease. At the very least, he didn't want to do what some girls did, where they would engage in full martial arts and get into fights in public. If something like that really happens, he and his girlfriends will lose their face. With random thoughts in his mind, Li Yuan looked at Baiwuxi and praised them. Hey, the movie is not as good as yours. You two are much prettier than the heroine, Ruth. Li Yuan praised him twice, but he told the truth. According to his aesthetics, Zhong Tingyu and Baiwuxi are indeed the top beauties in the country. Zhong Tingyu glared at Li Yuan and snorted, "The person who plays Ruth is a big star, so you know how to talk sweetly and make us both happy." Baiwuxi also snorted, "Humph, if it weren't for his glib tongue, how could he have deceived us sisters?" Li Yuan hugged the two of them on the left and the right, shouted that they were wronged, and spoke emphatically. "You guys know who I am, and I never tell lies. If you don't believe me, ask other people, who is better looking, you or Ruth?" Zhong Tingyu rolled her eyes, "Tch, if you are so narcissistic, how can weigh 11 and I say it out loud? We are not as thick-skinned as you. I won't talk to you anymore, weigh 11, let's continue watching the movie." Baiwuxi pursed her lips and snickered, "Yeah, let's continue watching the movie. This feeling of lying at home watching a movie is really nice." After seeing the two girlfriends meeting and continuing to watch the movie intently, Li Yuan burst into laughter. Girls are really very strange creatures. Sometimes they seem to be incompatible with each other, and sometimes their relationship suddenly becomes very good. At this moment, the relationship between Baiwuxi and Zhong Tingyu suddenly became better, which made him wonder. Could it be that after last night's naked meeting, the relationship would really go one step further and turn into friendship? If that's the case, it can be regarded as an ice-breaking operation, and it's worth all the effort I put into doing it. By the time I finished watching a movie, it was already noon. There was already lightning and thunder outside, and heavy rain was pouring down, sweeping away the recent good weather. The three of them had breakfast after 10 o'clock, but they were not very hungry. Baiwuxi and Zhong Tingyu continued to choose to watch movies. Li Yuan looked for an excuse to code words and came to the study room on the third floor. Looking at the luxurious study room and the empty bookshelves, a calligraphy and painting of "God rewards those who work hard" gave the study a bit of a scholarly atmosphere. Li Yuan muttered, "When the weather clears, I will buy more books to decorate the study, otherwise it will look too monotonous." Li Yuan turned on his computer, logged into the writers area of the Yuandian Chinese website, and looked at the archived manuscripts that would be released regularly, and felt a little relieved from his anxiety. In the past 2 weeks, after not being so busy, I have a little more time to spend on coding. With the help of the tentacle monster that is as good as an eagle, the manuscript has reached 300,000 words, so I can waste some time. Li Yuan looked at the data of fighting stars and was a little stunned. Whether it was subscriptions, rewards, monthly tickets, recommendation votes or comments, it was ahead of other books by a cliff. Click on the comment area, and all the fans are in the comment area. Xiaohua's #1 fan, wow, I just got the news that Xiaohua sang a new song at a birthday party last night. It was so good that I almost cried. Xiaohua is such a great man. YYDS, it's great. Every few days, you can release a divine song. I'm so fond of my fans. I'll give you a reward first. If you hold a concert, I'll give it to you. Reward the Golden Alliance. Xiaohua's little follower, I also heard the news in the fan circle. This song is called The Rest of My Life. It's really, really nice. If you have any sisters who want video resources, please add me on QQ and I'll send you a private message. Sent to you. Xiaohua YYDS, Yuandian Chinese website is really disgusting. They haven't changed Xiaohua's title yet. Is there anyone more powerful than Xiaohua in the entire internet literary circle? It's impossible. Xiaohua's #1 fan, Xiaohua, male god, can you stop writing novels and enter the entertainment industry? Wouldn't it be nice to be a singing king? Li Yuan glanced at the comment area briefly and blushed a little. These female fans were all chasing stars on the Chinese website of Yuandian. They praised him so much that any fans who had other criticisms were ridiculed crazily and gathered in groups. Attack it? Thinking about the various book club groups that have been flooded by a large number of fans, they no longer discuss the plot of the novel at all. They are all about entertainment gossip all day long. Which song is good, when will the concert be held, what new songs are released, how many are there? Girlfriend. To a certain extent, Li Yuan feels that his fans are rapidly transforming into a fan circle. With his crazy pursuit, all other criticisms, such as those that he was a playboy and a scumbag, were immediately attacked. Li Yuan even saw a fan's reply. The summer flower god, he just wants to give every girl he likes a home. What's wrong with that? Li Yuan felt helpless. He always felt that his behavior had affected the outlook of some fans. Li Yuan muttered to himself, if I really set foot in the entertainment industry, I might be banned. After all, to a certain extent, I can be considered a bad artist. After looking at the comment area for a while, Li Yuan looked at the income data of the book itself, such as subscriptions, rewards, wireless, etc., and was equally astonished. Due to the influx of a large number of crazy fans, Battle of the Stars has completely become popular. The integration of song fans, book fans, and even Zhihu fans has made all data unparalleled. On the 3rd of every month, you will know your income. My income this month will definitely increase significantly, but I don't know if it can break 8 figures. Li Yuan's heart is full of longing. If his monthly income can exceed 8 figures, it will push the income of internet writers to a whole new level. This year's rich list of writers will definitely rank first. Li Yuan tapped the keyboard quickly with both hands, quickly converting the inspiration in his mind into words. After a while, the phone rang. Li Yuan picked it up and saw that it was Su Ji calling. After picking up the phone, before Li Yuan could even tease him, he heard Su Ji's slightly hoarse cry for help coming from the other end of the phone. Brother Yuan, help me quickly. Li Yuan was confused and joked, Daji, shouldn't you be proud of the spring breeze now? How can you save your life? Su Ji looked like he was about to cry, Brother Yuan, stop laughing at me and help me think of a solution. When Li Yuan heard Suji's slightly choked voice, he stopped teasing and asked seriously. Daji, what happened, tell me. Suji took a deep breath and said, what else could it be? It's just what happened last night. Something unexpected happened now. Li Yuan frowned, what's the accident? Please explain it clearly from beginning to end. Suji paused and said awkwardly, Brother Yuan, I won't hide it from you anymore. I had an incident with Yuchen last night when she drank too much. She was not very conscious at the time because of drinking. I was sober and struggled a bit, but because I was drunk, I couldn't hold it in any longer, so I forced myself to have sex with Yuchen. After doing that, it was already 2 or 3 in the morning. The next day, I woke up first and thought nothing would happen. Who knew that after Yuchen woke up and knew what happened last night, she suddenly broke out, beating and scolding me, and even called the police, saying that I had raped her. Now, she is very emotional, and I can't persuade her. Brother Yuan, help me think of a solution quickly. I really have no choice now. If she really wants to retaliate, I will be doomed. Listening to Suji's detailed description from beginning to end, Li Yuan frowned tightly. He never expected that Wang Yuchen would have such a strong personality. After drinking too much last night and what happened like that, when he woke up the next day, he would think that Suji was a prostitute and wanted to take revenge. Suji was her classmate for 3 years in high school and is now her boyfriend. If he really gets revenge, Suji's life will be over. The development of things was completely beyond Li Yuan's expectations. It was completely opposite to what he had imagined. It shouldn't be that the two of them drank too much, had a relationship naturally, and then officially confirmed the relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. Even if Suji and her broke up in the future, it wouldn't be such a loss. What the hell is Wang Yuchen doing now? Does she care so much about her first time? This green tea, could it be an act? Are you here to deliberately take advantage of Suji? Li Yuan was full of doubts. He could only speak to comfort Suji first. Daji, don't panic. You and Wang Yuchen are in a relationship. There are many people who can testify. What happened last night when you were drunk was a matter of course. Even if she reports JC may not believe it. When Suji heard what Li Yuan said, his panic mood improved a little. Brother Yuan, what do you think I should do now? I will listen to you. Li Yuan thought for a while and asked, where are you now? What is Wang Yuchen doing now? Suji quickly replied, we are still in the hotel. She is crying on the bed. During the argument, she accidentally broke her mobile phone. I locked the door and unplugged the hotel's phone line. Brother Yuan, what to do now? Li Yuan was speechless. Suji was so brave that he even dropped his cell phone. After thinking about it, Li Yuan made a suggestion, Daji, now you go directly to apologize sincerely, be serious, say more nice things, and give her some sweet things, such as buying a new mobile phone, buying bags, lipstick, and cosmetics or something. Stabilize her first. Suji sighed helplessly, Brother Yuan, you don't know, I have already apologized, I even knelt down in front of her, but she still kept crying. Damn it, you're already on your knees. After hearing this, Li Yuan couldn't help but curse. Suji nodded awkwardly and coughed, isn't there nothing I can do? After all, it's my fault. I took her first blood, so I just kneel down, but she still doesn't forgive me. What should I do? Li Yuan frowned, did you do as I said and buy her a mobile phone, a bag, branded jewelry, cosmetics, etc., by the way, show off your financial strength? Suji was stunned and said embarrassedly, Brother Yuan, if I say this, won't it add fuel to the fire? Won't she think I'm using money to insult her? Li Yuan laughed dumbly. This fool in love thought Wang Yuchen was so pure. Her level is not much higher than yours. No wonder, in the previous life, like me, I was played into a fool. Hee, Daji, you try it, maybe you will get unexpected consequences.